All right, sample exercise 413. How many grams of sodium sulfate are required to make 0.350 liters of 0.5 molar sodium sulfate? This is a molarity problem essentially, but instead of solving for molarity, they want to know how many grams are required to make a solution. So this is going to be important on the AP Chem exam and even in our labs. You're going to have to be making solutions. So it's important that you understand the concept behind this. A lot of times we're going to be making solutions of various concentrations, and you need to measure out a certain amount of solid to dissolve into water to make the solution a certain concentration. So this has an actual application. We're going to be making these solutions in class together for the titration lab that you're going to be doing. But for now, we need to know how to do the math behind the before we can apply it to the real world situation. So let's go through this problem. How many grams? We're solving for grams, and we are given volume, and we are given molarity. There are a couple of ways to do this, but I like to set it up in a proportion. If you don't like to set it up in a proportion, you don't have to, but I think it's a good way to organize the data. So I'm going to write down what they gave us here. They gave me a 0.5 mole. Well, let me erase that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. 0.5 mole in 1 liter. That's what the big M stands for. Big M stands for moles per liter. So I can rewrite 0.5 molar as 0.5 mole over 1 liter. And I can set that equal to X number of moles in 0.35 liters. When we do this problem, we're going to cross multiply and divide. So I'm going to take the 0.35 and multiply it by 0.5, and I get 0.175 moles. So now that I have moles, what can I do with that? I can always convert it to grams. Yay, grams. Moles to grams, moles to grams. So I'm going to take that many moles of, remember we're working with sodium sulfate, and I'm just going to do a simple mole to gram conversion. So 1 mole of that stuff has a mass of what? Well, let's see here. It has a mass of 142 grams. Found that from the periodic table. So 142 times 0.175, and that gives us 24.85 grams. Now, what that means is that if I were going to make a solution, and a solution of sodium sulfate of 0.5 molar concentration, what I would do is I would measure out, they want to make 0.35 liters, which is 350 milliliters. So I would take a volumetric flask, and I would get my volumetric flask ready. Then I would measure out 24.85 grams of the sodium sulfate. I would put that 24.85 grams of sodium sulfate into my volumetric flask. Then I would bring the water level up to 350 milliliters. So you don't add the water first. You don't get 350 milliliters of water and then just throw the 24.85 grams of the solid sodium sulfate into that solution. You don't want to do that because that's going to raise your volume, and it's actually going to make your solution more dilute than what it should be. So it won't actually be 0.5 molar if you do it that way. So you have to put the solid in first after you've measured out the solid. Then you bring the total volume up to 350 milliliters. Then you have 350 milliliters of a 0.5 molar sodium sulfate solution. Yay.